Language is the true reflection of ourselves, reflection of the character and growth of its speakers. A very great and beautiful morning, energetic noon, and a calm and serene evening to all the beautiful and pious souls who are watching us today across the globe. I, Supriya Kumar Velan, international speaker, communication and leadership coach, global keynote speaker, head of training, learning and development IIU, welcome you all to our NEP, National Education Policy 2020 webinar series day 15. And today's NEP Linguistic Approach. And it's really an incredible journey from day 1st to day 50, isn't it? And which is organized by none other than IIU International Internship University. Before I take a deep dive in my journey with you all, let me apprise you about International Internship University, which need not any introduction in today's era. It is a leading virtual education system and a global brand confederation and is the most valuable and trusted worldwide, well reputed in delivering innovative programs. It is committed to providing highest quality education to all the learners of the globe, regardless of social or economic background, and providing access to more than 1,000 plus courses. And this is really, really great. An internship to their e-learners across the globe. With the help of its committed, experienced, and high caliber global educators, and within a short span of time, which is very, very incredible, IIU has spread its wings in 195 countries and 6 continents under the strong leadership of its visionary founder, who is none other than Mr. Piyush Pandit sir, a committed and inspiring social activist, a passionate educationist from the last 2 decades, providing education to students from various social and cultural backgrounds. He has publicized the World Education Policy, that is WEP, One Education, One Foundation, and One World. IIU has taken the initiative to reach every learner in rural as well as urban areas through the Vidyanjali project, an initiative by the Ministry of Education, Government of India, to provide higher education as well as vocational training along with internship opportunities. So, IIU is the revolution in education, and today we have an amazing and insightful topic on this particular day 50, that is NEP Indian Language Linguistic Approach. Ladies and gentlemen, Nelson Mandela rightly said, if you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. But if you talk to him in his own language, that goes to his heart. And that's what we are going to discuss today about NEP Language Linguistic Approach. You all must be knowing about NEP 2020, which focuses on universalization of early childhood care and education, emphasis on learning Indian languages under the new policy. And Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi has mandated that all languages are national languages. The National Education Policy has advocated that whatever possible the medium of instructions until at least grade 5, but preferably till grade 8 and beyond will be the home language, that is your mother tongue local language, which you call regional language also, for both public and private schools. So that's all about today. And now I'm going to begin this fabulous, insightful, elated, thrilling, and exhilarating journey today. We have three brilliant, eminent speakers present with us, and I am taking a great privilege to invite my first speaker, Dr. Sharda Chakrabarti, who is a founder, director of Golden Future Counseling and Consultancy, AIEF certified master trainer, international certified career counselor, subskill trainer, Posh Act 2000 trainer, NLP coach member, and also a Sprouts Toastmaster Club, author, career advice and guidance. And she is also a PAAI state president, West Bengal. So Dr. Sharda, the stage is all yours to enlighten us with your wisdom. Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Supriya, for this wonderful introduction, and your energy is really very infectious. And I am feeling, today I want to extend my gratitude to Snigdha ma'am, Piyush Pandit sir, and IIU. And Ravi sir, who is always there, who is always encouraging each and every speaker, and all my fellow speakers today. So today I start the presentation, small presentation, which I'll share with you. Okay, NEP 2020 Linguistic Approach. Today we are here, and ma'am has really spoken so very well, given a very good introduction about the linguistic approach or the language policy. India, of course, is a bilingual, multilingual country with diverse cultural heritage, and language is a vehicle of gathering knowledge and means of communication with the people of immediate vicinity across the country and abroad. So it's just a medium of gathering knowledge. Now, we come with this new, today the discussion is on the National Education Policy 2020. And what is it emphasizing on? It is emphasizing on to the use of mother language, mother tongue or local language as a media of instructions till class 5, while recommending its continuance till class 8 and beyond. Why is it so? Why so many heads sitting there? Why they think that the medium of instructions should be English, there should be mother tongue? Why is it so? Or the local language? Because when a newborn baby is born, he's interacting with his mother or her mother, and the child is exploring, picking up few words and learning about the Matribhasha, the language which is spoken at home. Now, at the age of 6 years, admitted to primary school. Now, the language and the medium of communication is different, and the child is not exposed to that language. He feels very confused. The child is confused. And now, what is this leading to? It's leading to a long-term negative impact on the child's esteem, confidence, linguistic and cognitive capabilities. Here, I want to give an example of my own relative. The child belonged to a family where grandmother mostly spoke the native language of Bangladesh, because they belonged to a undivided Bengal at that time, before partition. So they came here in Kolkata, and the family, they were mostly, because the parents were outside and the child was there at home, speaking with his grandmother and picking up that language. Once, then when the child was admitted, after 1 month, the parents, they got a call, please come and meet us. The parents, they were so very tense. What happened? What the child has done in the pre-primary section? The child is very quiet. What happened? And the teachers started complaining. Your child doesn't understand English. He cannot take English instructions. He always talk a very raw Bengali language in the school. Means it's like very different from the language which is spoken in modern Kolkata. So now, and the child was becoming very, very quiet because every day he was given instruction in English and the child was not able. But slowly, of course, his self-esteem was very, very down. But the parents were asked, speak in English with the child at home. Is it possible to convey your feelings, your emotion in English? Not possible. And today, the child, of course, is grown up and is working on in Infosys as an engineer. So that is a different story. But this is actually leading to a negative impact where the child thinks that I am not able to follow the instructions given by ma'am in English. So that is the need. And that is why the national education policy has come out. So at the foundation stage, isn't it more important that a child understand more about the literacy and the numeracy? Or is it important to expose him to a language which is more important in the official communication, internet, social media? And our child, poor child, is really fighting with this type of problems, not able to understand which he's admitted in the school for gathering more and more knowledge. So the National Education Policy 2020 has advocated that wherever possible, the medium of instructions until grade 5, but preferably till grade 8 and beyond, will be the home language, mother tongue, local language, regional language for both public and private school. What a so very fresh approach. So what is the objective? What is the objective? I'm so sorry. So now it's very important in the foundation years that he or she understand more about the literacy and numeracy. Now, the Indian National Education Policy, now what is it doing? It is to mesh the new learning outcome with the changing world. Do you know India has 120 languages, of which 22 languages are spoken by over 1 million people, while remaining 100 languages are spoken by more than 10,000 people. This is according to 2001 census report. But a different source says that there are 1,500 more languages used in India. Do you know India has lost 220 languages or dialects in the last 50 years? And UNESCO declared 197 languages as endangered. So many languages always lost, mostly 220 and 197 language on the verge of extinction. It's a big problem. So in a 1953 report, it's not a new report, it's by the UN, the use of vernacular language in education. So it is focusing on two aspects. First, every child of school age should attend school, and the best media of teaching is the mother tongue of the pupil. And this is not today's like they have quoted. It's there. It has been the report of 1953. And it is also has emphasized that all languages, even so-called primitive one, are capable of becoming the medium for school teaching. Some perhaps merely as a bridge to a second language, the new language the child is learning, or that others can be used at all level of education, because the main aim is that the child should understand the numeracy and the literacy and the numbers and the language. So it can be used. So this particular thing is actually taken up in this new education policy, the new 3-language formula. It's not a new concept. It has been there for a long time. And here, there is so much of flexibility now that no language is imposed on any state, region, or on students. A student or state is free to choose any 2 languages of native origin and a 3rd language. So what is actually the main focus of new education policy? It is that every child should learn and implement, not just mug it up in the language which the child does not understand. As there is no language compulsory, the child can skip off learning, but it might be some disadvantage, as the China also faced when they refused teaching English, but now again they are. So now, what is the 3-language formula? Let me sum it up. As the medium of instructions, wherever possible, the medium of instructions until at least grade 5, but preferably till grade 8 and beyond, should be in home language, mother tongue, local language, or regional language. The 3-language formula will continue to be implemented to promote multilingualism as well as promote national unity. As we all know, that the child, if he or she knows more than 1 languages, the child becomes, the neurons, they start working. For example, let me tell you, I belong to a North Indian state, and my husband, who's Bengali, and my children, when they were growing up, they were speaking all these 2 languages side by side. Of course, it took them a little more time to synchronize this language in their brain and to use it up. Today, they can speak Hindi, Bengali, and English with same proficiency. So more and more language, it also enhances the neuron connection and the child becomes more intelligent. And NEP states that there will be a greater flexibility in 3-language formula, but no language will be imposed on any state. To learn 3 languages will be the choice of the state, regions, and student themselves, as long as at least 2 languages of the 3 languages are native to India. According to HRD Ministry of Education, the 3-language formula will continue to be implemented in school with greater flexibility, but no language will be imposed on any state. Means they are not pressurizing any state. The states are very much, they are free to use the language. They want to keep it in their school. So there are some frequently asked questions, like I'm going to take few. There are many. When was 3-language formula implemented across the country? Is it very new? No, in 1968, the 3-language formula was implemented across the country, barring Tamil Nadu that adopted 2-language policy. What is the objective behind 3-language formula? The 3-language formula sought to serve 3 functions. First, accommodating group identity, affirming national unity, and increasing administrative efficiency. So these are the 3 functions which are the main objective behind the language formula. Means group identity, national unity, and administrative efficiency. They can easily read, write, and understand the local language and fill and do all those administrative works. What are the 3 languages in the 3-language formula? It was first incorporated in the National Education Policy in 1968 by the Indira Gandhi government. In Hindi-speaking states, English, Hindi, and a modern Indian language. And in non-Hindi-speaking states, it was English, Hindi, and 1 Indian languages. This was the formula. So the national policy 2020 has advocated that wherever possible, I have already told that please to use a mother tongue so that the child becomes more and more understand. Now, let me just sum up. There is enough research and evidence now to prove that if children are taught in their mother tongue, particularly in the foundational years, like ages between 3 to 8, then higher retention, higher proficiencies, and lesser repetitions of grade, lesser waste of resources, money, and time by the student. Then also improved test scores are seen when the child is taught in their mother tongue. To create a student-centric environment, we cannot allow the sink or swim approach of submersion. Given the available resources, bilingual teaching with the aid of bilingual textbook and e-content etc., can be great beginning to secure the future of our learners and their abilities, and to see that India has upgraded everywhere and becomes the superpower in coming years. Thank you. With this, I end up my presentation. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you so much. Thank you. Over to you, Supriya ma'am.
Superb, Dr. Sharda, and what to say about your brilliant and spectacular presentation. The way you have taken this journey on and on, it was really an awesome, fabulous. I will appreciate your three-language formula, which really excited and excellent point of view from NEP educational policy. And you have made me, not only me, but whole audience who are watching, that a different language is a different vision of life. And the limit of my language means the limit of my life. So thank you so much once again for this insightful session. And we would love to hear you again. Well, in moving to our inspirational, fun learning journey, which is full of knowledge and wisdom, now I take great privilege to call upon Miss Ramya R. She is MA in English Literature, hailing from Nilgiri district, Gudalur, South India. She holds a bachelor degree in English Literature with gold medal at Bharatiya University, and she is a budding poetess, co-author, short story writer, what not. And if I will keep on talking about her, I think it will take a day. So let's hear. I welcome you, Ms. Ramya. The stage is all yours.
My gratitude is beyond words, Dr. Supriya ma'am. Thank you very much for your tremendous introduction. I'm very much obliged. And when talking about IIU, I'm really great. I'm really proud of this event where I have given an opportunity to talk in a great platform, which is a national education policy, which we have successfully crossed 14 kind of videos and 14 kind of sessions. And it's really great session. Now when coming to IIU International Internship University, it's really a world-class virtual university, we know well. And the founder, Dr. Piyush sir, I want to thank you a lot, for which he is a man of excellence who provides a lot of opportunity to the people who are from various parts of the world. So thank you very much, sir. And with that being said, I can't wait to greet my audience who are from various parts of the world and enthusiastic learners who are curious to learn something about a linguistic approach. So in such a way that let me not delay to start sharing my presentation. So here we go. I hope the presentation is visible to you all, isn't it?
Yes, it's visible.
Yes. Yeah, thank you very much. So today I'm gonna share a lot of things regarding the expertise of a linguistic approach. But apart from that, I'm pretty sure to learn a lot from those dignitaries who are present today. So now coming to next slide, I don't want like to tell the introduction because already Supriya ma'am has given a lot of introduction, which is really tremendous and worth notable. So with that being said, let us dive into the galaxy of linguistics, which once started to explore never ends. So now I would like to ask you all a question. What is linguistics? And for this, the very first thing which pops out in a mind will be a kind of definition which seems like this. So as you can see in the slide, we say linguistics is derived from a Latin word, and we say it is a scientific study of language. But whether we study only English language, it's not so in the case, because we're gonna study all the human languages in general. We have a lot and lot of languages from various parts of the world. So to study such thing, the really a scientific study, which is the linguistics. So today we'll be deeply analyzing various aspects of linguistics, and that is the next slide. The word linguistics itself is divided into two parts. So when simply, if you tell linguistics, people are sometimes who are familiar with linguistics, they can answer what is linguistics. But in the case for undergrad student of linguistics who are in the first year, if we ask, they are often confused and mess up with what is linguistics or what is phonetics and so and so. So for that, I'll be really dealing with a lot of clarifications, which will be very crystal clear at the end of this webinar series, which is connected by National Education Policy. So with that being said, linguistics is a lingua anistics. So do we all know Latin? Whether we know Latin or not, we say it is a term derived from Latin word. So this lingua is representing tongue or an organ resembling tongue. It's not only the tongue we study, it is a study based on tongue, but a very important organ for the articulation is that the tongue. So we have a lot of parts of speech and a lot of parts of organ in a human body. So we'll be studying that detailedly in the very next slide. And when we talk about istics, it is a Latin term, it means a knowledge or a science. So when we analyze each term detailedly like this, it is pretty sure that it can be very thorough with all the terms which are included in the branches of linguistics. Now coming to this slide. Branches of linguistics are more and more. There are applied linguistics and social linguistics and so many more to learn. But when we talk about branches of linguistics, today we're going to be learning about the 5 important branches, which are phonology, phonetics, morphology, semantics, and syntax, where students or maybe even an expert gets confused with what is the term, and they just merely represent the definition when these questions are asked. So when basically, if you understand a concept of any language or any term, it's easy to explore them and study them in the better way. So now coming to the 2 various fields of pronunciation study, we have 5 branches. Out of that, we are going to deal with this phonology and phonetics. So now what is this? So let's get deeply dive into that. So phonology is nothing but a scientific study of human speech. So for this, I will tell you a very good example. A whole Stone Age man was not familiar with any kind of language, but indeed used to imitate sounds from nature. All right, so when we imitate sounds from nature, be it an animal or bird, and that is how the sounds converted into word and adapted a human language form. So this is very kind of like ancient times. People used to do this. So through imitation, language takes place its evolution, and language is not always constant. It keeps changing according to, as now we have our IIU, which is a very great revolution for world-class people to learn education and enrich great minds and also young minds. So in similar way, language also takes part its own role, and it just starts with a great evolution later on. So that is how phonology, we are going to deal with only these sounds and speech sounds so that the communicative process becomes very easier. And it's not only for suitable for an English language, but also for any other language. This kind of app is suitable because once you are thorough with the sounds, then it's easy to articulate and be very fluent with the pronunciation, because that matters most for the communication purpose. And when you come to phonetics, it is also studying speech sounds, but what is speciality in this? That is the articulatory and acoustic point of view. So we are dealing with some of the articulatory systems, which comes from respiratory, phonatory, and also which is the phonatory, this part, the throat. And then we have also articulatory point of view. And coming to the next slide, I'll give you a very good example for phonology is patterns of sound. Patterns of sound is always like when you take for example, and a second language speaker, they often have some of the important misconceptions with the sounds and they pronounce totally wrong. So once they are perfect with their sounds, once they learn the patterns of sounds, it's really possible to grasp any language pronunciation and it will be very efficient. So in such a way that we have pay, bay, and ebay. So when you transcribe this pay, as you can see in the slide here, so when the transcribe is like releasing a kind of puff, which is PH, a kind of puff. So when you transcribe the word pay, you will get like a kind of puff sound, which is similar to, so now I will ask you all a question, whether the B sound in bay is more similar to bay or pay. So often your people will confuse, we have bay and ebay. So what tend to happen, people just used to see the consonant word bay, we have B, and the consonant word of eBay is also B. And they tend to say that they both are in same. They both pronounce the same, but that's not the case with the patterns of sound. We have to assume that. So now we have pay, which is a transcribe of pay is PH, a kind of puff sound. But when you aspirate the sound and transcribe the pay and they become similar in the pronunciation, which we haven't thought about it, right? So most kind of languages, now for Arabic speakers, they are very familiar with the B sound, that is bat sound, but they're not familiar with kind of pronouncing B kind of sounds because always B is a whispering sound, which is discovering P. So this is how the sound is totally different for each language, but not only for English language. Talking about phonetics, there are a lot of properties of sound. Now we have to see for the question how they are made and how they are heard and how they are transmitted. So these are the main basic question that people have to go through when we see about phonetics in English. So for a linguistic approach, how they give their better approach is that when you learn phonetics, you will have terms like phoneme and phones, where people often say that individual sound is known as phones or sound, but they're not set as letters. And when you talk about the units, they are phonemes. So units of phonetics is phoneme, and where you can see the phonemes are three kinds. Now for English language, you have 44 main important phonemes in English language, which are 24 consonants. And if you ask a child who are pursuing schooling, and they would answer, well, only 5 vowels, but in linguistics, we can see 20 vowels, which are 12 are pure vowels and 8 are diphthongs. So this is how 44 phonemes we deal with in English language, and where few consonants are voiced, few consonants are voiceless. And this is how the pronunciation skill differs for country to country, and if people tend to use voiced consonant in a right place and voiceless consonant in a right place, sure, the pronunciation becomes better. Because I'm telling this because voiced consonants are produced with a vocal cords, which is right here on your throat, like that starts vibrating. You can just do an experiment by placing your finger on the tip of the throat. So you can see that a vibration, a kind of vibration. So that is how now we shut the door and we hear a sound. That is how the vocal cord works. And thus it results in voiced consonant. So for voiceless consonant, what happens? The throat voice box becomes wide apart, and that is how voiceless consonant appear. And for this, we have a better example, which is S and Z. So for SIP, it is voiceless. But whereas for zip, it is voiced. Similarly, I have given some certain examples you can see here in the slide, which is T, ten, and den. And for pen and bin. So if you go through all these voiced and voiceless consonants, it's really possible for you to pronounce the words in a correct way. And I'm repeating again, it's not only for English. each sound, each language, it differs for each language. So now we are at the interesting branch, which is called morphology, which is a structure of words indeed. So now we are thorough with what is sound, and now we have to progress with what is word. So here we have the slides like birds and pets. So unless you add a consonant S, it is in the singular form. So once you add S to both the word bird and pet, and you can analyze that it's kind of plural, right? So this is how the consonant structure works. So bird is one morpheme, and S, which as we think that is a consonant, is also another morpheme. When they put together, we get a structure of word, which will result in a new one. So here is a better example, which I can give you. Word in a language consists of one or two elements. It's not only one element. So consisting of two elements putting together will become morpheme. So each one element in word is morpheme. So for example, the better example I can take is establish, which is really a verb. And when you add this meant, which is a morpheme, which is a bound morpheme, which is has no any meaning. So when you talk about this verb, and when you add this meant as a suffix, you can definitely see here it is establishment, which is resulting in a noun. So a verb transforming into a noun. This will be useful for the second language learners, where like day by day, they can start with a sound and then they can begin with a word. They can construct new word, they can form new word, resulting in evolution of languages. And coming to semantics. So actually we know sound, we pronounce them better, and we know what is word. Also, we talked about that in morphology. What is semantics? It is the meaning of language actually. So now I'm talking and communicating to you all. Since you know the meaning, you can grasp my content, what I'm telling to you. Or we can also be very much thorough with what is I'm coming to tell to you all people. So unless you understand meaning of a language, then you will be not able to communicate efficiently and effectively. So now meaning is constructed, how the meaning is constructed, how it is clarified to the people. Even you are not a native speaker, how it must be clarified, how meaning is interpreted. So all these things come under semantics, whereas a meaning becomes a central study for the communication. So unless you don't know the meaning of a language, then I'm pretty sure you can cope up with that language. So this linguistics, semantics is also giving you a linguistic meaning. So here is semantic ambiguity. So most of the ESL speakers suffer with this, that is English as a second language learners. Semantic ambiguity is a very foremost misconception where you go with, and it's a great hindrance. So how to avoid this? It exists when a word forms corresponds from one word or more than one meaning. So when a word gives more than one meaning, it is not only in English, but also in your mother tongue. Guess what? You have one word which is having certain many meanings. So that is resulting in semantic ambiguity. And I need an answer for this example. I bought a pen. So from audience side, can I have an answer? I bought a pen. So what I mean by the sentence? Can I have an answer? I bought a pen. So usually you would think this kind of pen, what I'm telling, but actually I mean this pen, which we contain, which we help the dogs or the pets to be in a contained area where we will be not able to supervise the dog, so that we will keep them contained inside a pen. So you can see the slide here, right here. So henceforth, the word pen here does not represent this pen, but also can represent the pen which is in the next side of the particular picture. So this is how the semantic ambiguity plays an important role. So to get rid of this, people want to be very familiar with a homophone, heterophone, homonym. So in our schoolings, we are familiar with what is homonym, right? But we are not very familiar with heterograph and heteronym, and so on. We'll get a clarification towards that. Now here, homophone and heterophone are really having a same pronunciation, and they are having some kind of different meaning and also the different spelling. So homophone and heterograph can be put in a similar way. Whereas homonym is something completely different from rest of the two which we saw, and I can give you an example for homophone is son, which we'll see later on, and for autograph too. So can you construct a sentence in this with this what I said, son as two different meaning, at the same time two as two different meaning. So I want you to just practice along and interact along so they can learn better. So talking about homonyms, it has the same pronunciation and same spelling, but you can see the different meaning. It can be an example, well. I can say, yeah, I'm well today, but at the same time, I can say I construct well to fetch water. Yes, and then kind. Yeah, she is very kind of fool. That is an example. And another example for kind is we saw the kinds of literary devices, five main devices. We can say that as a kind. So coming to the match. Match is also another example where we have match the following at the same time, match, which is an Olympic. And now homograph as different spelling, but different meaning, same as well, homograph and heterograph are in similar manner, and it has the same spelling and different pronunciation meaning as well. So now coming to the very important example, bow. So if I ask you a question like this, so here you can able to differentiate since you see a picture, but unless you see a picture, you will be not able to differentiate. Now, if I say, for example, a sentence that is a young lady gave a formal bow towards a person and she presented bow as a gift. So in this, what is bow as a gift? So which gift she have presented to a person? So she gave a formal bow, which means in the middle you have a picture, which is greeting someone. And when you have bow, she presented bow as a gift. Now, if I say one bow to a young lady, so it will be the first picture. Another bow is to a hunter. And now we can notice the difference. So you can reduce the semantic ambiguity if you are non-native speaker. And now mouse. So a mouse is lurking around the mouse on my desk. So if I say this, you will be confused which mouse she's talking about. So you have to analyze the mouse, which is in the first picture is a rodent, and the second one is an electronic device. Talking about this one. So now you can say people. So if you are like learning something, and if you are really deeply interested in a language, first know its meaning and basic. And what are the misconceptions you will learn with the language? So study such word. By studying such word, you can surely avoid such kind of semantic ambiguity in a real life situations. So this we can really study in applied linguistics form. So son here does not represent a male descendant, but here the son represents, usually the sun, it is a universal concept where it rises in east, but here the sun. So you can see my son like to work under the sun. So while hearing, yeah, it is something very different. So this is how the semantic ambiguity arises. So now, so far we learned about semantics. Now we are going to learn about syntax, which is the structure of a language, which is very important and not very similar for every language. We people are familiar with what a sentence pattern, but when you talk about I eat the ball, it is SVO pattern, where I is a subject, it is a verb, and the ball is an object. So she likes tree can be similar as I given you in the short form. In English, Mandarin, and Russian kind of languages, the sentence pattern is always the same, like not always the same, but they are following the same pattern throughout. It can be a subject, verb, object. But when you talk about she tree likes, do we say in English she tree likes? So this kind of pattern, SOV pattern, can be followed in Japanese, Latin, and Tamil kinds of Dravidian languages. And when you talk about VSO, likes she tree, it's completely different sentence construction for English. But when you talk about the languages like Hindi, or sorry, the Hebrew or Italian kind of languages, this is how it works. So you can check it out with your mother tongue and English. When you directly translate in your Google Translator, you will get the sentence construction always are not the same how in English it is. It differs. So that is what I came to say regarding the syntax. The structure of language plays an important role. Unless you're not able to sentence our structure, then it is not that much vivid and it will be not very efficient as well. So now coming to a verge of our session. So language disguises the thought is the very first thing I want to tell, because each one people's thought are very creative. They are very unique in nature. So each of your thought is disguising the language. So let us use that language as a revolution. Also, the people who are the youngest people of IIU learners, age is not a limit for you people. You can learn and explore a lot from International Internship University. So whereas language disguises thought, if you use it in a pretty manner, everything becomes very easier. So best wishes to all of you people. And thank you so much for patiently listening to this session. And again, if you have any queries further, you can write me to this contact details which I've provided. Thank you very much.
Superb, Miss Ramya. What to say about this session? And seriously, when I was listening to you, I was thinking these things have to be implemented in my speech. I am going to pronounce this now. This is the right, correct way of pronunciation. So what a start. You told us about the linguistics, what exactly it is, what is phonetics, phonology.
Yes.
So just like a great voice and accent training, I must say, we learned a lot with your insightful session.
Yeah, sure.
Marvelous. Super.
Thank you very
Thank you
much
so
for your
much.
praise and compliments, Dr. Supriya. And it's indeed a great honor to be here, first of all, to this session. And being expertise in certain language, everyone had expertise in certain things. So by learning linguistics, I think everyone in IIU also can be a great linguists and phoneticians as well. So thank you very much.
Awesome one. Well, moving to our beautiful journey of knowledge of NEP 2020 series. Now, I am taking a great privilege to call upon Ms. Rachna Chakravarti, who is an educator with 26 years of experience associated with grooming students of various age groups. And she works as a catalyst in transforming students' life. A writer, blogger, educational counselor, international speaker, and a social activist, she has conducted n number of workshops on public speaking. So without wasting much time, let's hear her. Ms. Rachna, the floor is all yours to hit on.
Thank you so much, Dr. Supriya. That was really lovely. I don't know if I've achieved that much the way you had expressed it so soulfully. I'm really impressed. Though being the last speaker for the evening, I had already overheard the conversation of Dr. Sharda, who spoke a lot about the linguistic approach. And of course, Ramya, who really had done a brilliant work bringing in the linguistic approach, which we actually forget when we pronounce or when we deliver any particular speech. We just forget to do that. And she really revised everything very meticulously, taking in every single point into consideration, starting from phonology to phonetics and morphology and then syntax. It was amazing to listen. I'm really privileged to be a part of this session. And to end it up all, I would like to just delve a little bit quickly into the importance that language is the blood of the soul into which thoughts run and out of which we all grow. So this is what language actually delves into us. So today I would love to speak about NEP's movement about the language implementation, which Dr. Sharda had already spoken about very elaborately. So I would just rather brush it up, touching up in little points, and then talking about the National Education Policy 2020 has advocated that wherever possible, the medium of instruction until at least grade 5, but preferably till grade 8, and it will be the home language, the mother tongue, local language, regional language for both public and private sectors. So based on this, today our series is basically on Indian languages or the linguistic approach. So already Ramya has spoken about the linguistic approach. So I will be talking a little more about the Indian languages and why it is important. Because every time we are overhearing that languages become a very great factor in communication. So whenever we need to communicate, we need to understand the language of each other. Especially since I'm a social worker, I would love to just start the conversation with today's session by just giving the small example. Whenever I involve my the ladies in my organization to speak, they just fumble because they are not having the language to speak. So if I go on speaking that language, which is literally foreign for them, they will never understand what I want to say. So as a result, I have always kept the freedom of speech in any language. You just need to communicate from heart to soul, from soul to heart. So the language should be something which just connects each other. So the national education policy too have taken up this into consideration, and we are delving into that era, that where we have the freedom of expression, the freedom of speaking, where we do not stop them and they don't go a step behind in speaking out their heart. So the education policy, it is a significant policy document laying the national level strategy for the new millennium. It is really very, very ambitious, and it claims on the universal access to quality education, as that is the main key aim. So keeping in touch with the sustainable development goal, NEP also works together with it, hand in hand, taking quality education to keep the main key aim. So one of the highlights of NEP is its emphasis on the mother tongue education at the primary levels in both the state as well as privately owned schools. So everyone is supposed to put more stress on the mother tongue content, because as it is already said, the NEP had formulated the importance of all languages by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and inculcated that the mother tongue should be there. If first of all, you should be able to communicate, then comes language, then comes your area of expertise, which just now we have heard from Ramya ma'am. So we need first to open up and speak up. For example, we have seen, as Dr. Sharda had also spoken about, the child growing up in an environment, we do not see the child speaking in a language which we expect the child to do. But the child picks up the language which he or she hears from the environment, especially the mother tongue. So that is what he is hearing and nurturing that. In the beginning, when the child is born, have anyone seen him speaking in English or rather than any other language? That comes later on. First comes the language, the sounds made, the cooing sounds from the mother, or a couple of words in the language she speaks, but the child is already listening and making attempts to formulate her own language, and that is called the Matrabhasha. So once the child turns 6 and is admitted to the nearby primary school, she experiences the heights of bewilderment. Here, the language communication or the medium of instruction is something she has possibly never been exposed. So how will she manage this now? That is a big question. So there is a lot of research, and then it is finally decided that the child till the age of, till 5th standard or till standard 8, they should be allowed to speak in their mother tongue because they are comfortable. And those who are able to take it in their language, they should go for it. There is no problem in teaching a language which everyone understands. So this is an impressive feature of the language policy. So this child who was growing up in an area has been transported from a Bengali background to an Assamese culture. The newborn child has been left with another parent who is from the Assamese background. So here the child now, the Bengali parents comes back after 2 to 3 years and is completely surprised that the child doesn't know Bengali at all, though that was the mother tongue. So now the child is picking up that language which he is overhearing. So NEP also focuses based on that whatever you speak at home, let the child express that. So it strikes to a healthy and pragmatic balance among the three classes of languages. So there are three, which already we have overheard from Dr. Sharda: the native language, the classical language, and the foreign language. So the child is put into this box and is allowed to learn three languages separately and then delve into the consequences. The value and the utility of all these three classes of language have been duly recognized. And NEP also recognizes that the fact that the children picks up the languages extremely quickly between the ages of 2 and 8, and also the multilingualism has enormous cognitive benefits for the young learners. As such, it is proposed that from standard 6 to standard 12, the learners will be given option of two classical languages out of Sanskrit, Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam, Oriya, Pali, Prakrit, Persian, and the secondary level learners will have a choice of a foreign language like English, Korean, Japanese, Thai, French, German, Spanish, Portuguese, and Russian. So these are given to the teenagers, that is from standard 11th and 12th. They are exposed to all these foreign languages and they can select their language. That will be included in their course. So it depends, but it is not compulsory. There will be a language which is known to you. So this language can also be inculcated. The languages which is listed in the 8th schedule of the Constitution, and this proposed to be preserved and enriched by setting up the separate academics for each language. Classical languages are to be preserved and enriched, of course. That is the main importance of the NEP's concern. This becomes relevant in the view of the fact that many variants of sign language are in currency right now. Like in Bangalore, Madras, the sign language is there. Bombay Sign Language, Calcutta Sign Language, Punjab Sign Language, Alipur Sign Language, and many more. So these sign languages have also been developing a lot. The language policy of the NEP is considered to be a main endeavor which has been taken by the government of India, and to promote the culture and wealth to view a developing and a unified nation of national identity. Now, talking about the linguistic approach here, we need to understand that when we are learning a foreign language, there are a lot of other things which we need to learn. The origination of the language came from sounds. We know the sounds of the nature gave. How did we learn? Who knew A, B, C, D? Who gave us this? So the language is a very vast dimension, and the spectrum of learning the language, the main origination of language, which from where did it come out? If we see the question, that becomes really very questionable, that it was already developed from the sounds, which was there originated. It was already there with us, and we needed this from quite a long time. We had the phonology. That is what is called phonology, the sounds. That is the linguistic approach, which when we talk about it. So here, phonology plays an important part. Here we listen to the sounds, develop that sound. Like, for example, there is some pain, we say ah and ooh. So that is come. Then we had the bow wow theory, the poo poo theory. So these are there are a lot of theories in which language got its main spectrum and audience, and it went on enlarging and enhancing. But speaking of that, at a stretch, we need to focus mainly on our way of communication. Communication is missing, then there is no point of any language. Language is a medium in which we need to speak out what is there with us. And if that is missing, the NEP policy, which stresses on that we need our children not to become, very shabby and to be backbencher because they don't know to speak. Being a teacher myself here, I would like to share that I have a group of boys who really wants to speak. But every time they speak, they get a whack by the teachers because the language is really not proper Hindi, neither it is proper Marathi, because I'm from Maharashtra. So they speak a language which is really objectionable, and it's not proper with the phonetics, phonology, nothing is there in the language. They just want to deliver it. They just want to speak it out. So what do I do in such sessions? Being a language teacher myself, I allow these kids to speak up. And because if we all the time keep them mum, if you all the time tell them to seal their mouth and sit down just because they don't know the proper pronunciation, the proper hyphens, the proper pauses, we cannot stop them from speaking. They need to speak out, and then the fluency will start. And as a result, they will gather up that importance and speak up that language more and more. So these boys I have seen changing. First month, it was very difficult, very, very difficult. Let me tell you, it was not at all easy listening to their funny languages. I used to laugh because being a teacher myself, if I start laughing, listening to their Hindi, also I was thinking probably my Hindi is improper or their Hindi. Then I asked my Hindi teacher that are they speaking correct Hindi? So then it was absolutely rubbish and gibberish rather what they are speaking, but only thing is that they could communicate and I could understand. That was the main mode of communication. So here NEP is doing a very good work, bringing out the linguistic approach, and they want that we people should be concentrated more on the mother tongue rather than on a different language, which is a foreign language altogether. That will come in the second level when we are developing from the SSC till the HSC. So here we need to develop these kids. These, I'm not talking about everyone, but there is a percentage of kids who really cannot take up the foreign language as it is, but we started training them. And I saw as an edu trainer, I saw them developing. They started writing the words, the lines, sentences, then the homophones and the homonyms, which was brought into it. We did not tell them about the technicalities, but we were delving them into that technicalities. That is the main aim of NEP. We do not tell them that we are going to teach you a grammar lesson. We tell them that today we will be doing about how you pay more focus on objects or subjects. That means we are teaching them voice. So instead of telling the child that we are going to teach you change the voice, which was earlier the pattern, we just tell them now that we are going to teach you about how to put more importance to the subject or to the object. So that is the main concern right now, not to make the students feel more tensed about what they are going to speak. It is rather that they should speak. It is not that they should speak for 3 minutes or 5 minutes. If they are able to speak for 1 minute also properly without stopping an English speech, fair enough. We cannot expect a child who's learner can speak for 3 minutes a foreign language. But if the child is able to come up and speak that language, at least for a minute also, we have started that work, which NEP has also thought about. So talking about all these things which is implemented, I'm actually talking from my experience rather than going into the details of it. So language is basically the career of the culture, the sanskar. With the decadence of the language, the culture and the sanskar is also a decay. With a change in the language, values also change. So the bold efforts of NEP to rehabilitate the indigenous languages merits the wholehearted welcome and a loud applause to the Indian languages. The NEP document observes that the richest and the most scientific, beautiful, and most expressive way of expressing yourself. They want, the main intention behind is just to bring out all these people, and they should be expressive. Being well educated in one's own language is demonstrated by many, many developed countries. And it's a huge benefit. I remember the other day when I was interviewed by the Russian TV, and they were speaking in their language, and I had to answer with looking at the translators which was coming. So when everyone, even in the media mode, they are allowed to speak their mother tongue, why can't we accept this as NEP is supporting, that we should also allow our kids to speak in their mother tongue and express in their mother tongue, because it is there where they can reach out to more and more public, and we know about their thought process. So basically the list is more and more, and it will keep on continuing. And already our stalwarts have spoken about it. Dr. Sharda and Ramya ma'am has spoken about the linguistic approach, which is really right now the need of an hour, which every child or every student, once they pass the 8th standard and 9th standard, they should keep into track. Otherwise, they might fall down from that level of answering. So this, we also had, for this implementation, we had this 3-language policy. Again, we had also heard about it. The 3-language policy, what is this? So the 3 languages needs to be taken up, which is all accepted by the NEP. The main importance of this is that we need to accommodate the group identity, affirming the national unity, and increasing the administrative efficiency. So basically, it was implemented across the country, barring Tamil Nadu that adopted 2-language policy. Except Tamil Nadu, rest all had accepted the 3-language policy. So incidentally, the NPE, that is of 1986, do not make any change in the policy which was taken way back in 1968. The 3-language formula is the promotion of Hindi in a repeated verbatim. So that is the main language which is our national language, and that is also there in our NEP. So education is the subject and state, and implementation of it is very, very important, as a non-Hindi speaker also does it. Since then, in Tamil Nadu, 2-language policy is working. One is the English and other is Tamil. So they don't have the Hindi language, though the other states have taken it, the 3-language policy, which has to be cultivated, because we need a common medium wherein we can communicate with each other, which everyone should be able to relate with. So this is very, very important right now to make the communication more clearer and more notable. If we see internationally, then the majority of the countries follow 1-language formula, invariably the mother tongue, for teaching children in the primary classes. As I told the example of the Russian countries. So they always stick into that. They make it, a main majority of the people should be understanding this, their language. But if they don't, then we have the subtitles coming up. So it is important that internationally, they follow invariably the mother tongue until the primary level. But when they reach the middle school, they are given a chance to learn one more language, mostly English, but there is no imposition. That is what NEP is doing right now with Indian education policy, so that we achieve the sustainable development goal of quality education. If we need to impart something, if we want to educate a child, if we want to give more knowledge about science, about maths, about geometry, and we are talking in a language which this child is completely blank of, because the child at home is speaking in a language which is not very, very clear in the school. So the child will take time till 8th standard. The child learns and listens to the teacher talking in between in English language, and then in linguistic in their own mother tongue. And then finally the child is now ready to take in the linguistic approach. So linguistic approach comes once they are ready. We have to make the child ready to accept the change which is coming around, and with the official Indian language constitution. So English, there is no imposition of it in the other, in internationally also, as well as in our country also. We do not think it as that way. So being well educated in one's own language, as demonstrated by many developed countries, is a huge benefit to education, social, and technological advancement. So talking about all this, to sum it up all, that NEP is a well thought of procedure, and the main importance of speaking out the heart, that is taken into consideration in NEP, that we need to make a child, the communication level should be more important rather than the other thought process which goes in our mind before communicating. And as a result, we're not able to communicate. Many a times I've seen, even in my house, my sister-in-law and others, they're not able to communicate. Why? They're frightened because they see that I'm communicating in a language, comfortable in the language in which I'm communicating. As a result, they stop. So according to me, as I am there with them always, I just tell whatever you want to say, you need to say. Language should not be a barrier to anyone's means of communication. And the NEP's approach of the three language formula is also a great hit here. And we need to work on that and allow it to progress in that level. And then we can see that NEP's education policy or the linguistic approach or the language approach will always become a success. So with that, I just want to remind everyone finally before concluding that we all need to remember, if you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. If you talk to him in his language, it really goes to his heart. So where do you want to reach? Do you want to reach in the man's head and don't reach out to his heart? Then you can take up a language which is not at all understood by anyone. So NEP focuses on that. With that, I end my stand. Over to you, Dr. Supriya.
Thank you so much, Professor Rachna. And one more thing I would like to tell you. Without a PowerPoint presentation, you have left a great impact. I must say, an incredible impact on your listeners, on your viewers. And seriously, mind-blowing session with you, I will say. The way you started, you told about the three language formula, and the origination of language is sound that we have forgotten. So thank you so much for telling all those nitty-gritty and very important things to us in a very short, crisp, and a lucid manner. So, and of course, your subject and object, which you has emphasized, that was really marvelous. So I must say, listening to you was just like brushing up my knowledge, and really a very fantastic lesson, I will say. I have learned all. So once again, I will say only one thing. Language is the roadmap of culture. It tells you where its people come from and where they are going. So, ladies and gentlemen, it was really, really great to listen to all my three speakers, and they have spoken brilliantly, and they have given a lot of golden nuggets to us, whether it's Dr. Sharda, Professor Rachna, Ms. Ramya. So today, this evening is full of language knowledge of phonology, phonetics, and I am enriched with a lot of knowledge, and I hope that you all people have enriched, enlightened. Now, once again, I take a great privilege to open this forum for your heartly feelings to come upon. And I will start with Dr. Sharda, what she thinks from her heart on this topic. And we would love to listen to you, Dr. Sharda.
Thank you. I still remember it was 1996. I came to Kolkata with Bengali nowhere nearby me. And when I came here, it was so difficult for me to understand, of course. But it was not that I was not like willing to learn. I was, of course, willing. My father, who was in army, and we used to change our place, our place where we were staying. We were stationed for about after 2 or 3 years. And I have been to different parts of India. I was born in Kolkata, and destiny brought me back to Kolkata. It was a whole circle. But in between, I traveled to Assam, learned some Assamese. Then when I was learning, I was moved to Hyderabad, where I was started learning about some Tamil, Telugu, and within a span of 2.5 years, I was again shifted to North India, Chandigarh, Punjabi. I was learning Punjabi. Then my father was shifted to Amchi, Mumbai, picked up some Marathi. And in this way, it was, and let me tell you, Army is a mini India. It's a mini India. We celebrate all festivals with lots of love and from our heart. And of course, it really helped me to pick up Bengali very fast, because just now, like Professor Rachna ma'am was telling, like when we are communicating with our students, with their parents, of course, the children, they are learning, they know English. Of course, if I talk about senior sections, they know. But what about their parents? They were not so very fluent in English. And slowly, they became my subject. And I started speaking, full on wrong Bengali. But they took it with the open heart and they loved the way I spoke. And slowly, today I'm very much fluent in Bengali, very, very much fluent. I can read without, nobody taught me to read, but I can read Bengali. I can read whatever like I need. So, but this has also, increased my neural connection. I think at this age also, I have this thirst of learning. You won't believe, like Professor Rachna, she was telling, she said, you have introduced about a great public speaker. Let me tell you, I was never a good public speaker. I was very shy because I thought the words are so important. But later on, in public speaking, I came to know words, they hold only 7%. Oh my God, it is the way you express, the way you reach the other's heart, not here. Rightly said, as started with Dr. Supriya and ended with Professor Rachnaki, how beautiful she ended. Yes, I reached the heart of all the parents and students. And today, I'm so proud. I can speak so many languages. I understand so many languages. Of course, it has always an edge over the others. So I really welcome this three language policy, which is a boon for all, and teaching a student in their mother tongue. How beautiful. They are listening to the beautiful stories, lullaby in the in Matribhasha. And when they are coming to school, they are again introduced with the same thing, with all the subjects they are learning. So learning process becomes very easy, and it's so easy to connect the dots and to proceed. And that's what we are looking for. It is not, we don't want our children to be burdened to learn some English language. And my mother was from a very small area, from small town. She did not have a formal education also. But she was told, instructed, talk to your daughter in English. How is it possible to her to communicate in English? So thank you so much. And thank you to National Education Policy 2020. And it's really boon to everyone. Thank you so very much. Over to you, Dr. Supriya.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sharda. The way you have told about your experiences and how you have learned Bengali language, it was really awesome to know that. And the beautiful Bengali language, I love very much. Although I don't know, instead of Bhalo at Machi or Achi, I don't know much about it, but I love this language. It's really a beautiful language. Well, moving ahead, I would like to call Miss Ramya to listen what she thinks exactly.
Sure. Thank you very much, Dr. Supriya. And regarding this national education policy, I think that most of the implementations which we take forward towards IIU and via this NEP through education policy, it enriches people with virtual class. So now even we are from various parts of the world, we connect from various parts of the world, and in being in this people learn from NEP series a lot, and now successfully we have accomplished so far 14 series like web series, and now we are in the webinar 15th, and furthermore by the end of this month we will have a fruitful complete knowledge regarding NEP. And one thing I would like to say is education is the passport to the future, and the tomorrow belongs for those who prepare for it today. So in such a way that today was a really a grand session, and participants who have made their valuable time. And thank you for all the dignitaries to listen patiently throughout this session. So I thank you everyone, also Dr. Rachna ma'am and Sharda ma'am. Thank you very much everyone, and to the moderator as well. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you, Ms. Ramya. And without wasting a single moment, I would move to Dr. Rachna to hear her.
Thank you so much, Dr. Supriya. And I was really listening, and as Dr. Sharda has got connected, being a Bengali myself, I can really appreciate her, the initiative of learning the language. And I, being born and brought up in Assam, but a Bengali, so I know that Assamese language also very nicely. I know when I start speaking in Assamese, people cannot relate that whether I'm Bengali or not. Now I'm in Maharashtra for the last 26 years. So here again, Marathi language also I picked up. So basically learning language for a language teacher is really fun, which I always try to tell my students. It's always good to learn new language. You should never block your minds from learning language, because though the policy has been made, NEP, which is supporting for their mother tongue, it's really a brilliant way of communicating. What best can you be if you give them a topic and they start speaking in the mother tongue in a way where they are very good in expressing, rather than thinking and stopping and pronouncing and taking, as Ramya has said, the SOV, SVO, the patterns which we change. These are the linguistic approach to any languages which we have. So coming to the details, thinking about that all the time, we will not be able to communicate. So it is very good that we communicate. So wherever I take my sessions, I take sessions in Assam, also in Kolkata, as well as in Maharashtra. So there, whenever I go and visit the schools, so there I find students who have their own mother tongue approach in English. So the influence of mother tongue in their language. That is very sweet to listen to their English, which is having the mother tongue approach in it. Even in my family also, speaking with them, the Bengali touch is there in the English language. So whenever they speak about, the names like Arun, and they will just pronounce it in Bengali with the Bengali flavor in it, Orun, and these are the mother tongue influence. So I'm really thankful to NEP, because they have now these people who are really struggling to come out. They know English, they know the nitty-gritty of the language, the grammar, the the other basic formulas, but they're not able to speak confidently just because the others in front of them are pronouncing in a different way. So they just stand back, stand behind, step back, and they push the others in the front. But to talk about knowledge, Dr. Supriya and Dr. Sharda, I would like to say their knowledge is far more better, because they have been taught in that linguistic school, in that mother tongue school, the main basic formulas of grammar, which maybe in an English medium school have not been dealt, because here we are focusing on the spoken language much more than the other nitty-gritty. So first, which I have observed, because I visit many schools and I take sessions with students. So just I heard the students from Kolkata, they say it in this way, the rounded up accent. Sometimes we feel a little funny, we just take it back, but that's okay. That's not an issue. We are speaking, the language is proper. SVO, that is the format, the subject, verb, and object formula. So when we make a sentence, speak it in this way, it doesn't matter as long as you are phonetically correct, as Dr. Ramya had spoken very vividly about all the phonetics, and that is very, very important right now, the articulatory, the acoustic point of view, which we need to consider. Then also the pattern of the sounds is very important, which we hardly pay attention to. Talking about phonology, we have the pattern of sound. Then talking about the properties, which was very nicely told by Ramya, when we are giving the sessions, we keep it in mind, but we never say all these terms, because the term, like for example, morphology, if I put it in front of my students, that today we will be working on morphology, so they will hardly understand what is this morphology. So they might just take it in a different way. We know as language teachers that it is nothing but the structure of the words, which is very important to teach them. So instead of using the terms, if we can delve into what is the main intention of the linguistic approach, that is more important. Like, for example, semantics. That is, we all know as language teachers, that it's basically the meaning of the language. What is semantics? It's just what the language means. Now, if we inculcate all basic line to the students without telling them these terms and making them feel fear in their mind, somewhere in the subconscious, that they will stop learning this language, which is totally foreign for them. So I believe that giving the students something which really they can understand, and NEP is doing a wonderful job, which they have come up with this idea, seeing that we should be always able to express ourselves in our own mother tongue. And we believe that if we can express ourselves, our main work is done and the communication is completed. As right now, even in this platform, we feel that the communication has been completed, and we came up with a lot of ideas which we have collected, and there were a lot of takeaways from both the other two stalwart who had joined, Dr. Sharda, Ramya, and of course, always as usual, Dr. Supriya. She is really hats off to you for your moderation. You make it so lively. You just put that energy into your moderation. I just love always being a part, and when you are the moderator, there is an electrifying effect. In the initial stage, I was having some network issues, but then I said, I'm not going to run away from anywhere. I will join in whatever it is. So because I'm with Dr. Supriya. So thank you so much, Dr. Supriya.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rachna, and it was really great listening to your experiences. You have talked about your experiences, and that is the best thing. Experiences are the best teachers, which you have taken in today's session. And I will say only one thing: East or West, you people are the best. I just grab all the energy from you all people. Well, I would like to express now my gratitude in reaching to the last sphere of this NEP series, and that is today's topic, language. And we have n number of golden nuggets you can say today, which I am taking also. What I have to improve, what I have to speak, which what I have to emphasize, and where I have to pause. So thank you so much, my all three esteemed guest speaker. You were amazing. I thank you from the bottom core of my heart to Dr. Sharda, Ms. Ramya, and Rachna for enlightening us. Such an insightful session today, and we all are imbibed with great knowledge and learning. Must say, a fantastic one. And also, I thank our founder, Mr. Piyush Pandit sir, and IIU for arranging this webinar series session each and every day. And of course, how can I miss my one for taking a deep diving in our NEP webinar series, which is going on and on at 7 p.m. So keep enriching yourself with a great knowledge. Till then, stay tuned, stay positive, happy, hail and hearty. Bye-bye, everyone.